Here with We Mean Business, several officials of the Directorate General of Civil Aviation or DGCA facing the heat for abuse of their position. This coming on the back of the sudden and unceremonious dismissal of Mr. Bharat Bhushan as the regulator last month, a development which has raised several uncomfortable questions with no official answers being given. On the show today, we ask why there is no independent regulator for India's crisis-ridden aviation sector and whether government interference is adding to the turbulence and killing aviation in India. Let me introduce the guests on the show today. We've got with me here in the Delhi studio Mr. Kanu Gohain, former Director General of Civil Aviation, also Kapil Kaul, CEO South Asia of CAPA, Mr. Jitendra Bhargava, former ED of Air India, joins us from Mumbai, and Mr. Mohan Ranganathan, Aviation Safety Specialist, joins us from Chennai. Also with me here in the Delhi studio, Faizan, our aviation correspondent. Let me first start by asking Faizan the update with regard to the probe that is being faced by DGCA officials. What are the allegations and what's the update with regard to the probe?
Shweta, there are 8 officials which are under scanner right now, and they have been put on temporary suspension till the time the investigation is on. They are being questioned by the Central Vigilance Commission as well as an internal inquiry as well by the Department of the Vigilance in the DGCA. The charges against them were basically either their daughters or son were working with some or the other airline, and these officials have either got favored or have favored the airlines, and these were the charges that were prima facie found to be correct, and that is one of the reason the former DGCA, Mr. Bharat Bhushan, had suspended these officials after an official confirmation that either of their kins were engaged with the either of the airlines.
All right, important points that have been raised there, but let me raise a larger question here. Mr. Kanu Gohain, the fact that India's regulator, the DGCA, continues to be merely a side ministry, so to say, a department which is excessively governed by the Civil Aviation Ministry, has no teeth, is not independent.
It is true, Shweta, that the DGCA, a regulatory agency of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, is under the wings of the ministry and not an independent agency. There had been in the past many attempts to make this DGCA an independent agency, but as you know, with the wisdom of the government, it still remained as a DGCA, a wing of the ministry. In the process, what had happened in the past, when the proposals went for the DGCA to be made as an autonomous body, it got bifurcated into the National Airport Authority and the International Airport Authority. So, though many of the functions of the DGCA as a regulator were hived off to a new agency, and the DGCA today, as it exists, is a truncated form of the earlier DGCA under the wings of the ministry.
Mr. Kapil Kaul, is it not an irony that the weakness of the DGCA continues to be the biggest worry for India's aviation sector at a time when we seem to be battling so many other worries for the sector?
I agree, it's the biggest issue. We've been flagging it for so many years now. We fundamentally believe that it's a very weak institution, and it has been repeatedly made weak because government doesn't seem to be doing and putting the kind of effort that it requires to strengthen the institution. And you rightly said, we've seriously advocated that unless and until a safety sort of regime is independent, you cannot have the kind of oversight that you require. Government's interference in safety is going to be a huge sort of a challenge to the industry. So I think the issues that have been raised today of a very weak institution, extremely under-resourced, without expertise, and at this point of time there seems to be no sort of a business case to our plan to arrest it. We all seem to be thinking that CAA is the solution. Right. That'll take about a couple of years,
right.
And safety cannot wait for 2 years. And whether it is ministry or whether it is DGCA, everybody in the industry recognizes that safety is the biggest challenge. And unless and until we set our house in order as far as safety is concerned, the rest of the things are immaterial. There's no business case for the sector if we don't have an aviation sector which has a safety regime which is very, very strong. So I think that's extremely critical to address the safety challenges that the Indian industry faces.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.